I'm glad to be here. It took 115 years to make this trip.
Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy was a disciplined and organized woman that gave birth to John Fitzgerald Kennedy on May 29, 1917. She would come to have 9 children, which 4 of them were boys and 5 of them were girls. John, or Jack as they called him, was not a healthy baby. He suffered from many diseases, such as whooping cough, measles, chicken pox, and the most fatal of them all, scarlet fever, a life-threatening disease for nearly 3-year-old Jack. Though, he recovered about a month later, but Jack was never totally healthy again. In 1920, the Kennedy family moved to a new and rather luxurious home, well-fitting for the hard-working and eventually well-achieved family. Jack's father, Joseph, was working in the business industry and was determined to make $1 million before he turned 35. Even Jack's grandfathers were prominent Boston politicians, and the Kennedy family could enjoy a comfortable life. Although, Jack had some accidents while fighting his brother, and once he ruptured a disc in his spine while playing football. Jack never really recovered from this injury, and his back continued to bother him throughout his life. Jack was quite popular at his boarding school, and he also played a lot of sports, like tennis, basketball, football and golf. In 1936, Jack eventually graduated and entered Harvard University like many of his relatives. It was going great for Jack. He was attractive, agreeable and intelligent, and his family had high hopes for him and Joe. The 2 brothers were left at Harvard while the family moved to England, and Jack started to become very interested in politics and history. It was about this time the Second World War began. Jack was involved a lot, both inside and outside. He wrote a book on how England was unprepared, and he later joined the Navy, where he became a lieutenant. His brother Joe died when his plane blew up during a mission in Europe. When Jack returned, he ran for Congress in Massachusetts' 11th Congressional District, where he won in 1946, and from there he worked his way up to become the president in 1961 with his famous inaugural speech.
I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Intermission Ovir.
JFK was sworn in as president on the 20th of January 1961. His presidency ended 2 years and 10 months later, when he was killed in Texas. John F. Kennedy was sworn in as the 35th President of the United States at noon on January 20th, 1961. In his speech, he spoke of the need for all Americans to be active citizens, famously saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." He asked the nation of the world to join together to fight what he called common enemies, of man: tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Kennedy's advisor Ted Sorensen advised him to support the moon landing, and on May 25th, Kennedy announced the goal in a speech titled "Special Message to Congress of the Urgent National Needs." He believed that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space, and none will be so difficult or expensive to accomplish. On the 22nd November, Kennedy was touring the country when he was shot in the head, supposedly by Lee Harvey Oswald. He was hit by 2 bullets. The first hit Kennedy in the back and proceeded to hit another person in the car. The second was a fatal headshot. 5 minutes after he was shot, the car arrived to the hospital. Here was JFK pronounced dead. 2 days after the shooting, the shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, were killed by Jack Ruby. Oswald later died from his wounds.
Intermission.
Buzz! We missed the truck! We're not aiming for the truck!
90% of witnesses said they heard 3 shots. Some said they only heard 2, and some heard even more than 3, although the Warren Commission means it could have been the echo between the buildings. The first shot missed John F. Kennedy. The second bullet entered the president's back and exited his throat, and the last bullet entered the rear of his skull, and the fragments passed through his head. Someone means that there were at least 10 shots, of which all but 3 used silencers. The person means that the Warren Commission had to lie to limit the number to 3 so they could pin it on Oswald. Which makes sense since Connelly was wounded in the chest, ribs and arm. Some conspiracy theorists further claim that the US federal government covered up crucial information in the aftermath of the assassination, which turned out to be true regarding the CIA mafia plot to kill Fidel Castro. And in 1964, the Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only person responsible for assassinating President Kennedy.